Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm iGotsTats.
And I am DeathNail0.
Today we are bringing you a new video series on how to Deadside. If you do enjoy the content, be sure to like and subscribe to keep up to date on the series. We also stream on Twitch. Links will be in the description below.
Deadside is a hardcore FPS survival shooter. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, it features a sprawling 225 square kilometer map, PvE and PvP combat, with realistic weapons, crafting, base building, and survival elements. So I've just downloaded the game. How do I get into the world?
You will be asked to join a server. There will be a lot of options from official public servers to the privately owned ones. We suggest joining an official one to get accustomed to the game. The amount of players in a server can vary. However, the cap is 50. Be warned, we have come across hackers / reports of them. But please keep in mind, this game is still early access and was just released. You can go in alone if you choose to, and once inside, you can use the in-game chat to party up with people if you choose to.
Alright, so I've joined a server. Now what?
You will need to find gear to sell and defend yourself. It is broken down into the following: weapons, ammo, crafting, trade goods, clothing, and equipment. But don't get attached to anything. You will need to sell it for money to get better items. You will find 2 save zones on the map indicated by the green circles. Take note, you will not find items in the save zone unless dropped by another player. However, there is plenty of loot in the towns surrounding them. In this footage, you will see examples of items we found next to our safe zone. When out looting, you may come across other players as well as in-game events and wandering NPCs. Only take on NPCs and other players if you feel you are equipped to do so. Most times, they are not alone. Death, as I keep coming across these items, how do I go about storing them?
Well, your player has their own personal inventory. Here you will find storage spaces for the loot you find in the world. Your inventory is determined by the clothing and equipment you're wearing. Clothing, such as jackets and pants, can offer you between 2 to 4 inventory slots. Backpacks and vests can provide up to an extra 28 inventory slots, depending on which vest or backpack you're wearing. Your guns are stored in one of 3 weapon slots. You have 2 for long guns and 1 for a sidearm or a knife. There are 4 pouch slots. They are used to store equipment items such as flashlights and walkie-talkies. Outside of your personal inventory, you have a stash located at each safe zone. The storage is not shared between safe zones, which means loot stored at the northern safe zone will not transfer to the southern.
Time for base building. Here on the map, you can see we are pretty far from the nearest town. That is because you need to be a certain distance from other structures, roads, and bases. For this, you will need to build a land claim sign as seen here in the video. It can be found under the crafting section. Here you can see as I try to place it, I'm surrounded by a red circle. This is the border of your land, but we're going to pay attention to the sign. If it is red, it means you cannot place it. Once it turns green like seen in the video, then you can finally start to build. You will need some key items for this since it can be time consuming. This is what we suggest: a saw, a hammer, axe for cutting wood, hydration, healing, 2 guns, ammo, and a backpack and vest if you have one. During this series, we'll be covering each of these topics more in depth. Okay, so Death, we both got about 10 hours into the game. What are your thoughts?
Well, Tats, for me, I do believe that this game has lots of potential. At this point, I feel like obviously content could be a little bit short, but I mean, it's understandable for a game that's been out for just over a week and is still in early access. From what I've seen, though, I'm impressed with the gunplay. I think that as more content drops, this game will be, much more feasible and it shows a lot of potential. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, from a gamer from my standpoint as a variety streamer, I normally don't like games like this. However, this game has its hooks into me very deep. I agree with pretty much all of your points. It has a lot of great aspects. It mixes a lot of game elements from other series such as 7 Days to Die, Escape from Tarkov, and I think the game's going in the right direction. Hopefully we'll see more content down the road. Is there anything that has been hiccuping you lately in the game for you?
I mean, for me, I think that the NPCs are relatively difficult, especially with with the guns. There's not much in terms of attachments and things like that as yet. I do believe that more things like that will come, but when you're getting into a gunfight and the NPCs have what feels like aimbot, they can murder you pretty quickly. But I do believe that as this game evolves, it'll get a lot better. It's just you have to sort of give it the time to mature as a game. I do believe the developers are making this game as a passion project, and you're right. There is a lot of aspects from other games in this game. Coming from a lot of FPS games myself, I stream a lot of FPS, like Escape from Tarkov, Call of Duty, and things like that. Coming from games like that, I can see where they've taken aspects from those games, and I think there's lots of potential here for the future.
I agree 100%. And going back to touching on the shooting, I would say that for me, the shooting is probably the hardest part. It's more realistic or not the norm from a typical FPS. You really have to focus on your shots and make sure they connect. Otherwise, it'll be the difference between life and death. And as you mentioned, there's not many attachments. And as we know, you and I have looked at the store or the traders, and there's only basically just red dot sights as of right now, even for a sniper rifle, which hopefully we will see more content like that coming down the pipe with further updates. As also ammo, it seems to be pretty plentiful. You can stack certain things up to about 99, 80, 82. It seems to vary. But of course, you don't always need to, again, as we talked about earlier, you don't need to be sentimental about everything. However, you cannot seem to sell most ammo right now. Some you can sell with a full box, but not all ammo, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that I've noticed is loot spawns. There's probably not as much loot that spawns in the game as I'd like. Games like Tarkov, where there is obviously plentiful loot, and there's lots of variances in loot. Like there's a lot of different kinds of loot. As the game progresses, obviously more things will get added. But I think the loot spawns need to have a bit more, bit more work with. Need to be worked with a little bit more. And I think in terms of map size, I understand that people are putting bases on servers and stuff like that, but more features in the individual sort of map locations would be good as well. I mean, at the moment, as is present, there's just basically houses. Where open houses and closed houses. I think there's one town which is like more of a apartment area, but those buildings aren't accessible. So as this game develops, I think there'll be a lot more, and I do hold really good hope for this game. The developers have been keeping people up to date on Steam. So yeah, I guess at this point, it's pretty addictive. Like you get addicted to the crafting, the finding loot, finding materials, building things. We had a lot of fun, obviously, just sitting here building the bases. But you've had your own problems as well, haven't you?
Yes, I have. As you just seen in the previous clip, I was trying to place sandbags, which is just 3 burlap in game. It was very finicky because you can adjust the height, rotation, and other things like that regarding all the structures, including the base you see here. The problem is, with raising the height and everything, it's going to be very finicky. You want to get it just right. You'll see in a later clip where we have some real issues with that, but we'll come back here shortly. What's coming up now is what we mentioned about earlier, coming across NPCs in games. Here, we noticed we had an encounter. They were on the road, and you can see us engaging. As you can see from my shooting, I missed multiple shots. That is because the shooting is probably the hardest part right now, in my opinion. I don't have a scope. I'm using my iron sights. But if you do crouch, you can get better aim. And from here, we go right into another event because you got to be aware of your surroundings. Death had noticed there were some people walking in the field. I couldn't see them at first. I'm like, well, where are they? And then I saw them over the ridge. From a distance, you can't tell if they're NPCs or players. Is that correct, Death?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of the clothing in game comes from either looting them, or you can purchase them at the vendors. But more often than not, you'll get your clothing from dead NPCs. Now, with that comes the fact that if everyone's wearing the same clothes, including the NPCs, sometimes it can be hard to tell. You can basically tell the difference between an NPC and a player just by the way that the particular target's moving. NPCs are very stuck in their way. They'll try and stick along their designated path, whereas a player will more often follow you and try to push you a lot. That is to say, though, I've had issues where NPCs have pushed me through a door and then chased me through the door. So it makes for interesting encounters, makes for good contacts, and sometimes you don't always come off first best. Amount of times I've died in this game keeps me wanting to play. That makes the addiction real, but there's been things like that have happened.
Yes, and as you can see here, again, the shooting is very, very complex. I missed quite a few shots. We are playing on keyboard and mouse. I do not know if it supports controller. But we took care of them, and now we're going to try to do some more building here. You're going to see me grab the sandbags and move them to the base to kind of test something here. This is where some of the flaws in the game are showing, but this is just minor. Consider it's crafting. You'll see me trying to place the sandbags, and you'll see me again struggling with the height and the adjustment of them. You can see here I go grab it in my inventory. I'll put, and again with the clicking in the inventory is pretty hard too. Now you see it's red, and it's not letting me place, even though it looks like it could go there. There's no reason it can't. You see me adjusting the height. I'm moving it all around. Still nothing. It's still red. It won't allow me to place it. I'm turning it. I'm twisting it. It's still not working. So I'm going to back up. See, it turns green there, but nothing. It's not letting me create it. It's not. You can see in the upper left-hand corner. You can see the controls. It said I failed. It wouldn't let me do it. So I'm going to try again. Almost the exact same spot. I'm twisting it. I'm turning it. I think I even adjust the height a little bit here. As you can see, it's a little bit off the ground. And I'm going to go up. See, I adjust the height. Here's the issue. Now it's going to go green here in a second. And I'm going to go to place it. We still don't know what happened here. I'm like, cool, it's green. I'm going to turn it just a little bit. And then you're going to see me create it. The timer will come up, and you'll see what happens here. We're not sure if this was just placement or what it was. But here's the timer. It completes, and then you see it's gone. I'm going to open my inventory, and not even the materials are there. It's just gone. So that's just something to keep your eyes on when you're building. Now that being said, Dad, that was basically our short version for beginner tips in this video. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
Yeah, look, for me, I do think that this game is worth the investment. In Australia, at least, it's worth $40, including the extra little stash space and things like that. It's called the supporters pack. I think in US it's a little bit, it reads as a little bit cheaper, but yeah, I do believe that this game's worth the investment, and everyone should give this game a go.
I couldn't agree more. Again, from a standpoint where I normally don't like games like this, it has its hooks in me. I have high hopes for this game. Hopefully they continue to put out great content. And remember, if you liked what you see here, like and subscribe, comment down below, and be sure to follow us on Twitch because we do stream there as well. Links will be in the description.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one.